welcome back to 3M Affairs. I am Caleb John Cushing. I'm here in person.
Yes!
With my favorite person who's ever directed my thesis play from grad school.
I'm the only person who's directed your thesis play.
So you're my favorite.
School. Okay. Hi.
That's it. All right, fine. Josh doesn't feel like talking.
Yes, he's with me, Josh. And we're here with Brandon as well. In
What's
Toronto
up?
still.
Still in Toronto. Doing my own thing. Social distancing thousands of miles away from them.
Yeah, Brandon took it really seriously.
Yeah.
He still pays for rent here in New York City, but because he didn't want to get sick.
Oh yeah, no, your apartment's here,
Time
right?
out,
but you've been living.
Time out.
But you've been living in the park.
Just so I don't get in trouble with the government. That is not true. I have no apartment in New York. I am not living there. I'm actually.
Well,
I'm closer. I would say I'm closer to the Fortress of Solitude.
Oh, I see.
Than I am to New York.
Sure.
I don't think. I'm in one of those areas, and I don't want to tell you where because I don't want to give away my location. But there's no one within 1,500 miles of me.
And yet you have an internet connection.
A great internet connection.
Like a really good one.
It sounds like you guys are questioning my internet connection. And my response to that is, do you think that's Superman at the Fortress of Solitude does not have the world's best internet connection?
Superman's 100% a boomer and has no idea how to use a computer.
Yeah,
why would he need to? He can fly anywhere.
Okay, hold on. Time out. One, he's a reporter and he has to write all the time. So he uses a computer all the time. Secondly, he has Brainiac.
What are you talking about? Clark Kent's a reporter. Superman's not a reporter. I guess they do look kind of similar.
Okay.
No, one has glasses.
Holy shit,
one
guys. Oh, no, wait, you're right, Josh. Because Superman, if Clark Kent has glasses, there's no way he could be Superman because then Superman wouldn't be able to see.
You know what?
Right. You know what? How are you doing, Brandon? How are you?
I'm good. Toronto's doing okay. Things are starting to open up again. The film industry in Toronto is starting to get back up. Production's going.
Lucky.
So, yeah, I feel very fortunate that things are starting up. So there's been, some auditions and things going on, and it's nice to just have things moving. Even yesterday was Canada Day and everything was closed and it was like, come on, we just got back. Can we have like things open at least? It's a Wednesday. Let's have work going on. Just a little bit. I mean, we've been closed for 3 months. So, but yeah.
Well, I get that. It's funny because we kind of were like that a month ago, and now look at us here in the States.
Yeah, I mean, even
so, I would say as tired as we are about staying in, it's kind of. I just got the word yesterday. I was talking to Caleb about it that the bar is not looking at opening until at least late July, early August now because
that makes sense.
Cuomo halted the opening of indoor dining and bars and stuff. And although bars have been open, it's only patio or outdoor. Whoever can do outdoor.
That's where we're at here too. It's still just it's all patio and outdoor stuff. Nothing inside. And we just made masks mandatory inside, so that's good.
Wait, inside?
Yeah, inside. So anywhere inside, patios, all that or whatever, you have to wear a mask now. In Toronto.
Oh, but you're still out. You're still out, as long as you're out of the house, you have to wear a mask.
Yeah. Obviously not in your house. But in a public,
that's why I was confused.
If you go into a store or whatever, they passed a bylaw, so you have to wear a mask now, which I think just makes it easier for the stores to be get the fuck out. Well, no,
that makes 100% more sense. Yeah, I actually had my first ever real life instance yesterday or 2 days ago, because I went to the grocery store, just the one in my neighborhood in Queens, and this guy freaked out because they wouldn't let him inside because he wasn't wearing a mask. And I had only ever seen videos on the internet of that stuff. I hadn't seen it in person yet. And it was what are you and I mean freaking out, real rage, real anger.
The worst.
But he's one of those people that he's old enough that you don't have to take him that seriously. You know what I mean? It's you're not really going to do anything. You know what I mean? He does not physically threatening, but the anger was very real. So I was trying not to laugh. So excuse me, I just need to get eggs.
Well, because there's people in Florida saying, I saw on the news, they're we're going to the weekend of Independence Day. This is the the furthest away from being independent. I can't make my own decisions, and it's that stubbornness in America, right? God forbid you do anything that is respectful to other people. That's not just you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
and
the
then,
tweet. You know what I mean? That's like the biggest mistake that we made was, telling the American people it was for others.
Right.
It should have just been like, wear the mask or you're going to die. And then everybody would be like, oh, yeah, 100%. I don't want to die.
I mean, then like
Because we really don't give a shit about other people, unfortunately.
regardless of everything else, I mean, what 40,000 people tested positive yesterday in the States?
Oh,
Like,
no, it
that's-
topped 50,000 today or whatever.
Which
yesterday.
Literally
means, like
30%
Yeah.
of the state of Arizona is infected. Like, that's fucking nuts. And Florida's not that far behind. So it's, and it's just like, whatever.
You know what's interesting about that? Toronto is very aware that Arizona got super infected because Austin Matthews tested positive and he was out in Arizona. So Austin
Like
Matthews.
partying?
No, he was. Well, I mean, he went back to live there because obviously the season got messed up and everything.
Oh, is that where he's from? I have no idea.
Yeah. He's from Arizona. For people that don't know, Austin Matthews was like a first overall pick in the NHL and he plays for the Leafs. He's amazing. And then when they were coming back a week and a half ago, I think, so he tested positive for Corona. So it's kind of, changed how the NHL's looking at stuff, but we'll see what happens. Yeah.
I mean, you see it everywhere. So it's we'll see in a few weeks how it's going to get worse before it gets back. So unfortunately, I think the U.S. has gotten to a point where if we haven't figured it out now after 3 months or almost 4 months of dealing with this shit, and like it's scientifically proven that like if you just wear a mask, if everyone wears a mask, the infection rate goes down incredibly, like until 80% less likely than if you're not wearing a mask. So it's just, you can't fix stupid, unfortunately. But anyway,
it's all infuriating. Fuck Corona. Let's talk some movies.
let's talk some movies.
Brandon, before we get into it, I was curious. First of all, this was like, because it's like Independence Day weekend for both of us, it's such a missed opportunity to not do Independence Day.
That is really good point. Really good point.
And
really
I really regret that we didn't have the foresight to do that.
And Independence Day is such a fruitful movie. There's so much in there.
There's so much to talk about.
So much in there, man.
But I'm
love
curious
that
to
movie.
see, is Canada Day like Independence Day for you guys? But aren't you still technically in the Commonwealth? Like, how does that work? How do you?
These are good questions. And I'm not gonna lie. I wish I was more certain on the answers.
He was busy taking American geography and not.
Yeah, you should have taken an AP Canadian geography.
Yeah, and all I came out of that with was like the plot of Star Wars, so that didn't help either. To your question though, Canada Day, I don't know. It's kind of a big deal. It's more just like a fun holiday. Lots of fireworks. The same thing as Independence Day, but just not the same, like.
Well, I feel like, I don't know.
Fanfare.
I don't know what it's like in America, but here I feel like it's definitely an excuse to like just get drunk and eat barbecue. But
that's
also though,
it's a lot of cottaging, that type of thing up here.
Yeah. There's like a huge, like, obviously in certain parts of America, especially, there's like this fucking misplaced sense of patriotism that like, it's just, I don't know. I feel like every year that's gone by, I feel like weirder and weirder about celebrating like in America's Independence Day. You know what I mean? Like, and this year especially, it's like, oh my God. I'm glad that I'm staying inside.
Well, it was like, I definitely saw like a bunch of stuff this year that was like, I guess kind of anti-Canada Day, or not anti-Canada Day, but you know what I mean? Just like protesting, Aboriginal rights and things like that. So, which is, totally, of course, like that absolutely makes sense. Of course, like Canada, like the US or, whatever, obviously when they came here, they fucked shit up, and that's not cool. You know what I mean? So obviously like that always, every starting point with these countries is not a good place to start. So there's definitely all of that too.
I mean, anything founded, I feel like, especially with like the British Empire and things like that.
Right.
It's like it was all colonization. It was all like
exactly. So there's definitely, and especially now, there's more awareness of that. Like even like yesterday, I posted a stupid, whatever picture of Captain Canada being like Happy Canada Day, not without thinking about it. And then as the day goes on, I keep seeing all of this other stuff. I was like, that probably would have been better. Like that would have been more insightful, more helpful to people. And like, so I don't know. But as for like the raw patriotism, it's just, it's never the same. It's just a different, I don't know. It's like, hey, we're going to wear some red and like there's going to be, I don't know, maybe like a Canada flag and stuff.
The joke, at least from my perspective, has always been Canada's just like a cooler America. So like there's like that thing. And then, but obviously every place has their issues. The far-reaching ramifications of colonialism. What a cool segue for the movie we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if there's other stuff we got to jump in first before we go in, like if there's any.
I mean, I wasn't. Everything's been the same. It's been 5 days since we last spoke. So
yeah, that's true.
Things are good. Brandon.
Yes.
I beat the Valkyrie Queen.
Oh, dope.
On God of War. And I was telling Caleb, the Saturday when I finally did it, the primal outcry and the sounds that came out of my mouth when I finally beat that expletive or explorative or whatever.
That B word.
That B word. No, but it was really exciting. And I was like, oh God, so now I'm playing a new game plus. So you get even more armor.
Oh,
and
damn.
Like, you have, because you don't need your health or your like rage bars to go up, you get these like special like ores or whatever. These like these slabs or whatever that they can use to create perfect armor. So like now I'm kind of going through again and just kind of, but I'm not watching any of the videos. I'm just like going through the game again and getting through it. But
it's so good though.
That's big news.
Even all the cutscenes from that are so good.
It's so good and it looks so good on my TV.
Have you guys? I'm so excited for Cyberpunk. I keep seeing like new trailers for that, and I cannot wait.
Cyberpunk 2077.
I'm so stoked.
You know what's funny? I actually went in March to buy it for Ryan because I thought somewhere it said March, and then all of a sudden it's like September now. They've even before Corona, they had already bumped it back to September, October. So we'll see when it actually does come out.
But it looks amazing. I'm pumped for that. Also, I might get I don't know if you saw this, Caleb, but they dropped the pod racing game, Star Wars Episode 1 pod racing game on the Switch for like $18.
Oh no, I didn't see
really?
that.
They like remastered and threw it up on the Switch and like added some shit. So I might get that for nostalgia reasons.
Yeah,
I'll try spinning. That's a good trick.
Hey, don't you dare knock pod racing, okay?
I was more knocking the horrible acting of that kid in that movie is really bad. But I'll if I get some money coming in, I'll throw down for if you're trying to fucking race, bro, you trying to race, man. Bro?
Trying to race. I also just the way I keep thinking about it is like $18 versus $79.99 for Mario Kart. Like I'll get pod racing and play that for a few days. You know?
Yeah, but you pay for what you get. Like we paid $80 or Ryan paid $80 for Mario Kart, and we literally had 3 days full of just fun. It was fun, infuriating, and like yelling at the screen because Peach that
B word
would throw a red shell right at the very end and she gets first and you get second. Like, god damn.
Is that worse, or is like being like comfortably in the lead and then you hear that blue shell noise come at it? Like I feel like that's the biggest.
Or you get a blue shell, you get lightning, you get ink right in the same time, and then you have 3 people pass you because you've all been huddled, and it's like
No, Mario Kart ruins friendships. So does Monopoly. Both of those things.
In pod racing, you're in a racing pod. So that's cool.
Awesome. I can't wait.
Future child murderer Anakin Skywalker racing through the sands.
Well, also,
I actually just watched Phantom Menace. Sorry, Brandon. With I think Ryan's 7-year-old nephew, and he's always seen like the animated versions of these like movies or whatever. He's never seen the real life version. So it was interesting because I was kind of watching it again with him. And they aren't that good at all.
No,
and I remember like I realize this, but like for me, I think it's because I only watch these movies like once. Like I'll see them in the theaters or whatever, maybe if they're on TV, or once or twice, right? In the years they've been out, and then when you actually go back and sit again, it's hard, you know. And I don't understand how. I understand how it was greenlit, you know, but it's like put more effort into it, you know what I mean? Like, you know, also the CGI on 4K TVs now does not carry over.
Have you ever seen the Plinkett reviews on YouTube of Star Wars? Okay, do yourself a favor and go on YouTube, go to like Red Letter Media. is the channel, and look and watch the Plinkett reviews of the prequels of Star Wars 1 through 3. They're some of the most entertaining, hilarious. They like started the whole thing on YouTube that you see now of like the video essays or like the internet reviewers, and they're really insightful and actually like very educational while being fucking hilarious and like really taking down bit by bit, point by point, why these movies don't work and why they're lazy and why George Lucas is a hack. And
is it because of is it metachlorians? Is that the answer?
Yeah, they do come out and say that midichlorians are real. And no, but I think you guys, if you haven't seen them, you got to, because they're fucking incredible.
What's it called?
The Plinkett reviews of the prequels. And they'll come up and they're very famous. They've got like hundreds of millions of views. So
great.
Yeah.
Lucky.
Well,
yeah, I know. If only we started 10 years ago. So
as per usual, this is a movie talking podcast, and I just took Caleb's spotlight. I'm sorry. You go.
No, please.
Why are we here, Caleb?
It's weird. It's weird doing this in person. But it's good. I miss you. So we watched a film I found out it was 2009. It was my first instinct was right. From France, from the legendary director of Chocolat, Beau Travail, Trouble Every Day, Claire Denis. I have a terrible French accent, but I think that's how you pronounce it. The film White Material, about a white woman living in an unnamed African country, French colonial country, working on a coffee plantation, trying to get the harvest done in the middle of a civil war breaking out between rebels and the government. What did you guys think of this film?
I'll go first. Go, Brandon, or
yeah, I just watched it. I think I finished it like an hour ago. So I really enjoyed it. There's definitely some stuff I want to talk about just in general. Now we've watched a couple foreign movies that are more independently filmed, and every time there's a really interesting tonal change from the movies that we're used to, Hollywood movies. And I definitely want to get into that and see what you guys think that is, because I was thinking about it while watching it. But it makes the foreign movies we've watched, specifically this one, so interesting to me, because it was tense throughout, but very, especially at the beginning, very, very jumpy, showing you a lot of different slices of life in this area. And it's just I don't know what it is, the tempo of the movie maybe, or I can't put my finger on it, but there's something about the way that it was filmed or done that was very different, obviously, than a Hollywood film, and really worked for me. I thought all the acting was amazing across the board. I really did. I thought the woman was amazing. I cannot remember her name.
Her name is Isabelle Huppert, and she's like one of France's like greatest
she was fantastic. She was absolutely fantastic. And in a movie where there wasn't that much dialogue, it was a lot, and in a movie that was in French, where I have to be honest, I did pick up a lot more than I thought I would.
That's great.
Yeah, I always forget that I do know some French, and I'm like, oh, right. But it was just, it was beautifully well done. She was magnetic, and entrancing while watching it the entire time. And then the son came around for me. That was an interesting character. And then even when I thought it was going to go a certain way, it changed up, right? I don't know if you guys want to get into that right now, but obviously I thought he was just going to go nuts and start killing everybody.
Yeah.
And then he's like, no, I know where the guy is, and he's giving them all the food. And it's this kind of everybody's doing what they think they should be doing.
Yeah.
Which is,
well, let's get Josh's impressions and then we'll jump into
Josh.
Yeah. Yes. So I actually watched it twice, and second time last night, and I liked it better the second time. I have to admit, the first time I watched it was at 11 o'clock at night, laying in bed, kind of, because I like to watch them first to kind of just experience it and then take notes the second time. And the flashbacks, or because it's not filmed chronologically, right? There's always these inserts of, and without really kind of giving you anything, because it's put together in a way that is very fluid, and that if you're not, because there's there's these long shots of just nature and the environment and the setting, which I enjoyed. It's hard to kind of keep track. You have to like really look at outfits and hairstyles and things like that. But yeah, no, I mean, it was okay. I think I got caught up in the kind of what you said, Brandon. It's not a Hollywood movie or not an American movie. There are many times I was like to Caleb, like, how is this woman not dead? How is she just walking around? Everybody else is dying and she just gets a free pass, you know? And then, so I look forward to talking about the differences in the culture and the society, like my viewpoint of, you know, kind of how this is. And so she did frustrate me a little bit, which we talked about. That's part of the character. And yeah, and then, but I understood it, kind of what they were getting at the second time. And, you know, it definitely was worth the rewatch because I now think of it differently and I saw the artistry behind it, I guess, so to speak.
Well, can I ask something about that too? Because I do have a question, just like about a plot point. Just to clear it up, what was her reasoning for killing the old guy at the end?
So there wasn't like, it wasn't like explicitly told to us, but throughout the movie we see him and Andre, who, Brandon, did you recognize her ex-husband?
No, I couldn't figure out who it was. He also, by the way, did an amazing job, and I was like, I know who, I knew that I recognized him, but I couldn't figure it out. Who is he? What's he from?
It's Christopher Lambert. He's Raiden and the Highlander.
Oh, okay. All right. That makes sense.
I know. We Josh and I watched it last night, and I turned to him. It's like, Josh, do you? And he goes, yeah, it's Raiden. I was like, oh, fine, all right, Jesus. But no, they were conspiring to sell the plantation.
Right. That's what I thought.
Sharif, the mayor, and we don't see her. We don't see her like come. We see her come to that conclusion like subtly, independently, but it's never like. She's not like, and this is why I'm murdering you. Right. Like, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's the motivation because the whole movie is her, you know, being very stubborn and entitled. But, you know, she's like, this is my home. Like, this is where I live and I'm not leaving. Like, this is what my life is. And I don't want to give it up. And then, you know, the forces of control in her life kind of conspired to do that, and then she just, you know, took her revenge on the old
like guy. What was interesting about it, and I thought, is like, so she's spending all this time, like, one more week, you keep hearing all what she needs to do, but all the civilians and all the workers are fleeing because they don't want to get caught, because these kids are running, you know, around with AK-47s and machetes and spears and stuff, and, you know, they don't want to just be, you know, killed or shot just because of whatever, and it's and you learn throughout that she doesn't actually, because she's the ex-wife, right? So is it that her father or Andre's father, right? I'm assuming it's Andre's father.
It's Andre's father.
Yeah.
So she's the ex-wife. She really honestly, the only thing that she has that's hers, and I realized this the second time watching it, is her son. Mm-hmm. That's why she is so defensive to Manuel, because, you know, she's always like, don't speak ill about my son. I don't speak ill about your son, or, yeah, you know, all this stuff. Even though she's sitting, you guys, when she's sitting on the bed, you remember this, Brandon, where like she's literally saying, man, if I was another woman and I saw you and I saw your mother, I'd say, what a failure. Like, this, you're a failure of a son. And I was like, whoa, bro, like, okay, but Mom,
also,
love you too.
But what was really interesting about that scene when she first calls out the new wife for talking about her son, I had no notion. You think her son's a kid at that point. Like, at least I did.
Yeah. Right.
Because you've seen the other son, who's what, like supposed to be like 12. So I assumed,
like grade school.
Right. And so they're talking about it, and you feel like the new wife is kind of being rude, because you're like, oh, you're talking about a kid like that. And then you see him, and he's what, like this 19-year-old kid who's being a total asshole. So I was like, oh, great flip. I was totally empathetic to the, you know, ex-wife, like the main character and the mom. And then like, no, your son's a piece of shit.
Yeah, with all the tattoos and everything. And
it's the tattoos. It's the, like, oh, you know who I thought he looked like? I feel like he's like Machine Gun Kelly before all the tattoos. Do you guys see it a little bit?
A little bit.
He's like walking around like
a little bit
thinking he's a badass
with the blonde hair.
But no, so she doesn't possess anything. Like, the plantation isn't hers to like because she says in the truck on the way back with the workers that, because they ask, "Are you the boss?" And she's like, "In a way,
Right.
It's because she's a hard ass and she like takes no shit and she's really kind of hard nosed at like running this plantation, right?" And but really, it's like Andre's over at the mayor going, "I need protection because the rebels are getting out of control," and the mayor's like, "Listen, the plantation doesn't make any money. Like, why are we even talking about this? Why are you fighting so hard for something that doesn't, and it could be pride,
I sorry, just to interrupt real quick. I thought he was the best actor in the movie.
Which one?
The mayor? Or was he the mayor or whatever he was, the leader?
Yeah, he's the mayor.
He was
Sharif.
Great. Yeah.
I thought that actor was unreal. He was so calm the entire time and like just commanded the scene. Every scene he was in, he just took it. I thought he was fantastic. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But
Yeah. No, he's definitely good. I would say it's definitely, for me, it's still Isabel's movie. But
it's definitely,
he's definitely great.
Definitely her. It's definitely her movie. But what I thought was really interesting about that character is even when he's interacting with her, it's a very different side of her. Every character that he interacted with, we saw like him pull something else out of that character. Like
he's definitely very good.
We see her laughing and smoking and all this in that scene.
Right. Well, that's actually a flashback that is very easy to miss because it's a short scene, but it's very, I forget what part of her daydream in the truck this happens. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure if she's out of the truck. That was a little confusing for me.
Yeah.
I got it better the second time. The fact that she's in the pink dress, like at the beginning, and she's getting onto the truck heading into town, or that's the truck that's going back to the plantation. I'm not sure which. Actually, as I talk about it, I'm not sure. But
yeah, the frame narrative is her trying to get back to the plantation.
Okay.
So all of these times where she's like cutting back onto the truck, she's like thinking about the past few days.
Gotcha. And that's but towards the end when things start kind of lining up a little bit. Oh, okay, wait, hold on. So obviously the first shot of the coughing and the fire, and then going back even further, the shot of the boxer dead obviously is telling you right there that this is whatever. So when you do see him alive trying to run away from the military, obviously they're going back in time.
Yeah.
So when she's kind of in the road and like hailing down cars and things like that, this is all her getting back to the plantation to where she machetes.
Yeah, where she machetes.
So the machete, the her killing the father-in-law is the present that is now we're all caught up.
Yeah, and then you see the other rebel soldier running away with Boxer's beret.
That's right, and I didn't write that down, and I kind of thought that last image was interesting. So I'm like, okay, cool. He's like, oh, it makes sense. He's now the new rebel kind of leader. But there's two flashbacks that are really quick. One with the grandfather, or with her father-in-law in the hospital bed when she's standing with her back to the screen and
the shorter hair.
And that's the only reason you can kind of correlate. Oh, this is a flashback, and she's the same person. The shorter hair, and then the one with the mayor, like you said, when them like smoking weed or whatever. So they obviously have a history, but they don't ever say how far back those flashbacks are. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah.
No, but it's interesting in terms of like just how long she's had a personal relationship with the mayor.
Well, they say that. They've lived here for a long time. They make mention that her son Manuel was born there.
Right.
So at least that long, but probably longer.
Oh, right. Okay.
They Andre's father-in-law, or no, Andre's father. Sorry, her Marie's father-in-law, the old guy, said, he's like, I've been here my entire life. Yeah. This is my home, and I think that's like one of the big themes of the film. And obviously watching the Criterion supplemental essays afterwards helps informs this. When Claire Denis says, like, the colonial mindset in Africa has the white people through that system just like can't fathom the fact that it's not their land. Like they feel like so entitled to this because to them it is their home and they don't see the difference. And I feel like that's sort of where, like throughout the film, Marie, the language she uses, like there's one where she goes to her workers who are trying to leave. It's like, we don't have to take this. Like, we can fight back, you know, like she's like, I belong here. Like, this is my home. But like everybody around her is like, no, you don't get it. Like, you don't understand. It's not the same. You don't belong here. You need to leave.
Yeah.
But she can't hear it, or she can't comprehend it. And I think it's a huge, to me, that's where a lot of the tension comes in, is you see this woman, and Isabelle Huppert carries herself so beautifully, so assured and so confident in these spaces that she doesn't belong and like can never really understand, because on the plantation she is still so removed from it. And that's why I think the choice to use like French hot like art film grammar to like in terms of the cinematography and the style, like we're seeing Africa through the lens that she is, which is like French, like high art, you know, through a glaze of everything, and all of the camera is handheld, so it's like very like personal, like you're in the environments with her and everything is from her perspective. And I just think it's so visually interesting. And to your point, Brandon, like when an American, or like, you know, a North American film about this issue is presented very, very differently. It's a very different
9,000
cultural.
First of all, 9,000 more things are going to explode.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, she's going to be like probably some white dude with a gun running around, and it's a totally different movie. You know,
which is so reductive and not helpful and not.
Yeah, not at all.
In my opinion, not, you know, real. Like this feels more real. This banality to it. You know what I mean? Like the subtleness of it. And
even with the arc that does happen in the movie, and there's a lot that does obviously happen in this time, and it's very impactful and it's very real for those characters. It also does just feel like this is the 4 days. This is the slice of life, you know. And while yes, it is incredibly intense set of circumstances, it does very much feel like this is life. Like this is what is happening, you know?
Yeah.
As opposed to like, you know, Transformers or whatever.
Right. Sure.
It's like, I love Transformers, but.
Well, it is interesting because, you know, the movie's, I guess we can go into it. The movie's titled White Material, and they used, it's referenced a couple times, like, oh, it's just white material. Like, so it was Andre's golden lighter, right? They find the ground. It's like, I'm assuming it's a term to like classify privilege, or it's another term for privilege, or it's another term for entitlement, like what Caleb said. And I'm like, you know, they use this, one of my favorite vehicles they used was the radio, the broadcast, because a lot of information about the world, you have to pay attention to the radio. And that's what's great about subtitles, is that they put all of that in there, so you don't have to actually listen for it. You can just read and assume that you know it's coming from the radio. But they mentioned, like, you know, the whiteys or the white people or the white material, get out or whatever, you know.
Yeah, with the Jamaican music, the reggae music kind of going in the background. He's like, I gotta get out of here. Like, I liked that guy. I was really sad when he died.
Well, that's the thing too, is like with what Brandon was saying about explosions in America versus, I didn't need to, like, a lot of people that we actually met during the movie died. Right?
Yeah,
but we never saw them actually dying. We've always just seen the aftermath of them being shot, except for the guy who was in the truck.
That, and then also,
or the machete.
But it was, and kind of what, like the point you're making, all of that happened at the end. We saw people dead before at the beginning, or we'd see people dead throughout the movie, and then in these kind of last couple scenes, that guy gets shot right in front of us, and like that hits her very hard, obviously. And then when she goes back, like, and gets back to the plantation, there's the scene of them killing all the kids.
Oh, right.
That was so, I hate. I mean, it's really well done. I like that all the violence is very blunt, it's not showy. It's very, like, you know, what it would be like to witness all these things.
Everything happened off screen, like in terms of the physical.
For the audience, it wasn't, what we mean is, like, you would see, you know, a guy's hand with a knife and then, you know, just blood, or like people in the bathroom, the water turning into blood. So it was all just, it was off screen. but it was very.
It's not like it's not like Tarantino. Like people are just getting like blown to shit. And
but you're right, Josh. Like we didn't see any of that until the third act of the movie, which I think was super impactful. When they like went through and they're kind of, you see this, army kind of just wipe out these rebels. It was just like, oh my God. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So brutal. I personally get really affected with like child soldier stuff for some reason, like watching these like young kids with these guns and these knives and commit these acts of violence, and then watching them all get killed by the government. That stuff really affects me, and I found it to be very powerful when they're running through the school with the guns and everything. And I don't know, it's fucking, it's really brutal.
Well, I feel like too, though, that's just kind of, kind of what you told me last night. Like I'm seeing it through a lens of an American and our culture and stuff. And child soldiers makes no sense to me at all. Obviously, we're in America. You have to, technically supposed to be 18 to possess a gun and mind. And we're we try and shield people. At least our children from really anything. But these kids in this country are like
It's the exact opposite.
It's the exact opposite.
I mean, they what? They pull the machetes on him and the spears on the brother, right? And then they just take all of his shit and leave him there.
Okay, can we actually talk about that moment real quick?
Yeah.
First off, that water, gross.
The water. Wait. What do you mean?
He's like in one of the first times we see Manuel. Josh turned to me when he jumps in the scummy pool. Yeah. Josh is like, "That's fucking disgusting."
Also, like, what an odd, like, just that whole. I don't know what everything going on there is super weird. Like, also just before that, right, when you see that happen, and then you see those two kids and they're about to kill him, and the dad yells.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then he gets out and he's like, "Oh, why'd you yell?" And he's like, "I thought I saw something." It's like, "What? How is?"
It's like, why are you shielding him from?
Why are you so calm about this? He almost got murdered 2 seconds ago.
Right.
Like,
well, then, and then also, can you guys answer the question about how do two rebel kids meander and relax and like kind of sift through a house without anybody walking in on them or realizing them until Manuel finally hears them going through a drawer, and then they run out, grab the chicken before they go, because why not?
Yeah, I liked that a lot.
But then the way it's in the movie, they run off into the woods or whatever, the plantation. Manuel runs out and kind of like gets the chicken back into the woods, and he kind of like looks around the pavement. There's no indication that he's seen them run off or anything like that. But then the next shot is him running through the woods or the plantation fields to meet up with these kids, right? And then they proceed to what I got the second time. Well, no, the first time I did see it's a show of power, and the second time I reconnected they're stripping him of all of his white material.
Yeah.
His necklace, his, boxers, whatever, his hair, but the question is, was he sexually assaulted?
Yeah.
Do you think they just,
that is the question. I don't know. Yeah.
I feel like the film is implying that based on the fact that we see one of the soldiers put the spear down the pants. And then when we cut back to him, his hands and his knees are really dirty. He's very clearly mentally not well.
Okay. Yeah,
so I think that I feel the film implies that, but obviously it doesn't show anything, and you're free to interpret it differently. But I feel like that is the catalyst that pushes him to then become insane.
Well, for me, I'm on the fence about that specifically, just because they did push him down onto his hands and knees, and then there was no, and I'm not saying you have to have this, but like any kind of blood or resistance or whatever, but like he almost, because I do feel now that Manuel wanted to just be part of the rebels because he's fucking bored. He's a 17-year-old kid.
So my point, and I think that's why I agree with you, Josh, because I think, and it definitely could go either way, but the fact that he comes back around to help them, right? And the rebels, like, because we see him start to obviously go crazy, and that's 100%, by the way, Caleb, what I thought was going to happen. I thought he was just going to go shoot them all up when he's like, when he's chasing them in the truck and like yelling at them that the boxer's at his house and all of that. I thought he was just going to start shooting at them, and I thought he just lost his mind. That was the thing. But then he comes around, he's giving them food, he's trying to help the rebels out. So he's had this weird change of heart. Not a weird change of heart, a weird change of heart based on his situation. So my thought process was, unless we're going with the idea that he's just totally broken and lost it, which is a totally realistic idea as well and feasible, and that would also work with the movie. Is it that because they didn't kill him or whatever, that he's then hold on a second, sure. What am I doing here?
I mean,
you know what I mean?
I feel like it's, thematically for the film, the way that I interpret Manuel is that he, they make lots of references to him being like half-baked or, like not well mentally, and we see him kind of snap, and it's the same with Marie, where they feel like they belong to Africa in a way that they don't actually. Like, right. I've interpreted him as like, the reason that he's lazy or distant is because he doesn't feel like he's a French colonial person living on the plantation. He wants to be like, he was born here, like this is his land. Yeah. And so it's a very misguided feeling of like this opportunity to really like to embrace the side of him that he feels is real and join these rebels and like take down. It's like he's a teenager. Yeah. And he's like, this is me. And this is, where I finally feel like I found the thing that I connect with, and it's completely misguided. And he ends up paying for it with his life. I feel like he's definitely mentally unwell. And I think the reason that I have read it as like a sexual assault was because, and it might not be, it could just be him getting stripped, Josh, like have you said, of his white material, of the things that identify him as a colonial power or an other, that push him mentally over that edge with like, the way that he really aggressively assaults the housekeeper. Yeah. Kind of. Yeah. I've always been like, oh, that's an overreaction. That's like a very primal dominance thing. Yeah.
Oh, with the hair
and just the yelling and it's very like something happened to him that we didn't see,
True. Yeah, absolutely. And I loved how she, I would be just like her. I think her character name is Elizabeth. I would just get the fuck out, but I also I don't know, Brandon, if you caught it when you were watching it, but with the use of the radio, they actually, right before Manuel goes nutso and shaves his head or whatever, there's like this broadcast of like her friends or family members just saying, hey, whoever's listening, this is for Elizabeth. We're coming to get you. We know you're working on the plantation.
Oh, really?
Don't worry, we'll come get you out. Her two friends came to get her on the bike. Yeah. And,
Was that kid, by the way, I was having a hard time recognizing, but with the kid that was watching her leave, was that the other son?
Yeah.
That was, okay. That's what I thought.
That was Jose. Andre's younger interracial son.
Right.
Do we know why he cut the power line to the coffee generator thing?
Oh, because he's the worst.
Because he hacks.
No, Jose's
just
great.
Straight. He's just bored. He's like,
he's tired of the white people's shit. Everybody's tired of the white people's shit, and they're so oblivious they don't understand that like these people have these opinions about them. And then Andre gets it. Andre's like, okay, we got to get out of here. And then, of course, he ends up dying when he's trying to escape. And
there was literally a French army helicopter that comes and says, hey, listen, bitch, get out of the country. Yeah, it's not okay.
And that's like, and then right at the beginning, so you don't you don't appreciate that till the end. But yeah, you're like, oh, yeah, that guy was like, hey, you need to leave right now.
And she basically flips them off. She's like, nah, I'll be okay.
And then they throw survival kits at her.
Yeah.
Just rains down survival kits, which also I felt was a little strange because they're never really used. I don't know what they were trying to say because she has everything on the plantation. I guess I don't.
Which is why she doesn't pick them up. She's like, no, I'm fine. I have a fucking like warehouse of food. And then it gets burned down.
Yeah.
And now she has nothing. I mean, when we leave her, she's everybody's dead. Her farm is burned to the ground. Like, and she's just like, oh God.
Right, all because she didn't heed the warnings.
Should have gone to France.
It's so frustrating. And I think that's what my issue was the first time because I was just purely looking at it okay, this is the character we're following this entire movie. Everybody in her orbit is telling her that the situation is what it is and it's fucked up and get out of there. How is she still like that was like my biggest frustration before I stepped back and
in the flashback she goes when he tells her to, I don't know if it's the flashback or not, but when the mayor guy tells her to go back to France, she goes something along the lines of like, how could I be courageous in France? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's
I missed that.
Yeah. So that seems to be like her whole perspective on it. And Caleb, jump in if you disagree at all. But the idea that in France, she's not doing anything. She's not in any kind of front line. So even here and being a part of it with, the rebels or the militia, it's her world or what she thinks of it.
Well, she has status here. In France, I'm assuming in France, she goes from being the plantation owner, wife, worker, boss, lady.
Yeah.
She goes back to France. She doesn't have that status. She kind of just gets shoved in with the.
But it's also and
general population.
It is also like her idea of that is bullshit, because all that happened is you were selfish as shit. You weren't aware, and you got everyone around you murdered straight up.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really valid interpretation. Her romanticization and also borderline fetishization of Africa and the people. That she's able to look at this war-torn, poverty-stricken place and be like, this is my opportunity to be brave and courageous. And it's like, bro, you're totally like missing. You're not connected to reality. Like your reality is so much different than everybody around you. And that Brandon, I think that ties in really well with why she then would choose to help the boxer.
Right.
Yeah.
I
think that's a really good instinct on your part to, and
well, it's really interesting.
Who I loved, by the way. I loved him. I loved that character.
He was great, but it's really interesting based on what you just said, and I 100% agree. It becomes very obvious that this movie, even from the beginning, you have this character who thinks she's like this white savior who ruins everything.
Everything.
Like if you just leave, the rebels and the army figure it out, and a bunch of other people don't die.
Yeah.
And like they
possibly.
But like if you leave, your husband doesn't die, your son doesn't die.
Yes. Her family, yes. So
you know what I mean? Everybody else doesn't die.
Like the worker in the truck that she hires,
exactly,
doesn't die or get shot.
A bunch of people.
They don't.
Yeah, exactly. So it's wow. I'm really glad that we got to that point. That like, okay, I think I understand an even bigger perspective. The point of this movie of being like, it's the very very on purposely the opposite of the white savior. Like you ruined everything and you suck and you just need to leave.
Yeah, Claire Denis, the filmmaker, she spent a lot of time in Africa growing up in French colonial Africa. She's a white woman. And and she says, she's like, the situation in South Africa, that country is very different than the rest of Africa. And that country, post-apartheid, whites and blacks are trying to live together in harmony. And she's like, and if they can, then great.
Right.
But for the rest of colonial Africa, she's like, I think, the whites' time in Africa is over. And I think that they need to accept that. And this is the story of what happens when you don't realize when it's time to leave. Yeah. And I think that's really interesting, as I haven't seen like a movie like that before.
Yeah. It was like really, it was, and I have to say, like, I was really, I don't know what the right word is, but I was very happy with how this movie, went. And like that's what
I wanted to know, what you thought, where you thought it was going to go. Like,
honestly, I thought it was just going to be far less nuanced. I thought it was just going to be like a very straight up, like exactly what we're talking about now. I thought it was just going to be like this kind of, indie whites, like this woman and she's trying to help everybody in Africa and then it works and blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, that's a weird movie to watch right now. In fact, it was the opposite and a very perfect movie to watch,
Yeah, I'm proud of myself. It's better than Purple Rain. I'm just trying to do better than Purple Rain every time.
That's legit. But yeah, no, dude, I enjoyed it a lot.
I'm glad, man.
And it was thought provoking. It was different, which again, I was what I brought up before. I've been enjoying that with foreign films specifically. The differences in the tempo and the pacing and editing and shooting styles. It's a really nice change up.
Yeah, I was talking to Josh. I was like, I can't believe this is our first like European film that we've watched, because it is a very different style. Because with Korean, with The Wailing, that's like Korean films have their own style for sure, but that's also came out a few years ago. That's very modern. And House is its own thing. Like, there's nothing like House. So this was, sorry.
The Wailing was very aware of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a
For
lot
sure.
of like in the stuff that was both serious or funny, like that giant fight scene is one of the best things I've ever seen. The fight scene with
Yeah,
the
it's
song
great.
in the backyard is amazing
Yeah,
and
yeah.
hilarious, and then very real at times. That's so good.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But it is interesting watching these movies through a lens of like what we're used to. You know, like there's a lot more dialogue usually. There's a lot more, you know, quick shots and things like that. But these are all, it's all establishing, right? It's all like letting you take in the world. You know, there isn't a lot of dialogue, and I don't think it's because it's, you know, it's a foreign film. Like they didn't say, you know what, for the American audiences who may watch this, we're not going to speak a lot so they don't have to read as much. That I don't think that was the case. I think the case is like, we're going to make a French movie about this specific situation, but we're going to let the setting speak for itself. And I think that's a really unique way because you don't get that in movies very often over here in the States.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion. I don't
Well,
think
not
they do.
Hollywood films, and there's the independent scene,
Right.
which is different. But no, but I think it's a combination of. Well, I think that's, you know, Claire Denis drawing from those influences of very, you know, show don't tell, very atmospheric. We get lots of cutaways to the mountains,
Yeah.
lots of, you know, close-ups on Isabel's face, and like I can't sing her praises enough. Like she did the whole thing with no makeup, no vanity,
Yeah.
just like, and she's still so gorgeous, and the way that she's able to communicate things with her. The way that she moves her shoulders and her eyes, like I loved her performance.
She was
I thought she
phenomenal.
was
She
fantastic.
was absolutely phenomenal. I agree wholeheartedly. Very like, again, just enigmatic as well. Like you can't not watch her and try to figure out what's going on in her mind.
Yeah,
Right. And I don't think what's nice about it is that there's none of these shots that specifically are used to explain what's going on or things like that, right? Like they don't spoon feed you really anything.
No.
Like everything is set up in a way that that's kind of what would happen throughout, right? Like you didn't even know, you know, it isn't until Elizabeth, like you kind of got it from when Andre was talking to the mayor that, you know, that the plantation's kind of going under. It's like in like kind of limbo, whatever. But like the grandfather or the old man says to her during her short flashback that, you know, the plantation is yours, like through
Yeah.
word, right? Through like a verbal
Yeah.
exchange. And then Elizabeth, through like, sheer like defensive or just like instant, like reactionary, told Manuel that your father sold the plantation a while ago. Like, she's like, just go home. You have no place here. You know, your grandfather sold the plantation a while back, you
Yeah.
know, and I mean that's a quick line, but it says so much of like, oh, okay, that's why this is such a weird thing, and it even adds more to Maria and her situation and why she's fighting so hard for something that's just not
Yeah.
gonna work, you know. And I also find it interesting. Oh shit, I forgot. I'm sorry, you guys go.
one
lost
of my
train of
favorite.
thoughts.
Like I love the bookend of the film. Like one of the first things we see, if not the first thing we see, is the boxer dead. So like the face of the revolution
Right.
is dead in the beginning. So you know it's kind of a doomed to fail kind of thing once you can connect the dots and realize that that's like a flash forward. But then the very last thing we see is the other soldier with the beret running. Like, but the idea of the revolution is going to like live
Continue,
on.
yeah.
And I just think that adds just such a layer to everything, and I love both of those shots, and I've always loved the look of this movie. It's everything's like sun bleached, you know, everything is these like really bold colors, and the fucking music is incredible. I
Yeah.
don't know, I just think it's great.
No, it was definitely it was filmed beautifully, and that's something to touch on for sure. It was definitely very, very beautifully shot. Also, by the way, the music and lack of music at times, I thought was
Yeah.
fantastic.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
what was really profound at the beginning was just the shots of her in the fields and just the cicadas.
Yeah.
You know, just that's all you heard for a while, and then
And-
like the motor of the truck, you know.
And
For the engine.
just, you know, as I was watching it, the French language, it adds a very unique and I don't know, fantastic thing to the movie. The language is beautiful. It sounds beautiful. It's very musical in how they speak.
Sure.
I don't know. Yeah, it definitely added something.
Can I ask you, Brandon, as somebody who I don't know if you would say that you're fluent or even conversational, but you're familiar with the language.
So okay. So just to make it so a quick explanation, I was, when I was a kid, I went to French school, so I was fluent until I was like 10, 11, and I was like fully fluent in French. And then I like switched schools and I stopped studying at all. And so I just went to English school. So yeah, I can pick up stuff, you know, as realizing that as we were watching it, but I don't know. It's kind of a crapshoot.
Sure. My question is though, like, the setting, the country in the world of the film is not named, but they shot it in Cameroon.
Yeah.
So like with the Cameroonese accent, like was it like very different?
Oh,
were you
no,
still able
because
to pick up?
like that accent is very Parisian French, which is what I learned as a kid as well, as opposed to like
That's so interesting.
Quebecois French, which is like just the accent sounds a little different, and it's somewhat of a different dialect and stuff as well. But yeah, so no, that was like way more up like my alley of what I could understand and stuff. So there was times while watching it where I'd start turning away from the subtitles and still know what was going on. It was like, oh, sweet, okay, cool, that's good to know that I still understand some stuff.
That's great.
But yeah, no, it's just also the language it's so. It, like you said before, there's something about the language that helped like it sounds so high class. It's almost like when you're listening to like Shakespeare or something. It just sounds fancy. So it had this whole thing, you know, the whole movie sounded kind of like that.
Yeah, totally. It was funny. I had the total naive, arrogant viewpoint of like, oh, it's interesting that these citizens of Africa are speaking French. Everybody speaks French in this world. Just like in in English movies and like when a Hollywood movie, everybody just speaks English, you know? And I'm like, but then now that we've talked about it and I'm realizing that it's a French colony, and usually you pick up the language that colonize, you know.
Yeah. It's funny how that works, Josh.
Like, of course they all speak French because they were forced to.
Yeah, there's a handful of countries too there that speak French. It's not
like
uncommon.
most of Northern Africa, I feel like.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's uncommon.
Algeria, Morocco.
I know, it was just a thought that I had like randomly. I was like, this is weird. Why are Africans speaking
It's like
French?
when you're watching Chernobyl and it's like, why do all these Russian people speak British English?
Yeah, well, that's a
completely different thing.
Yeah, that was a choice.
Than this.
It's like
I would much rather have Stellan Skarsgård speak his normal way than try to do a Russian thing. So.
Right.
So what do you guys think? Rating?
I give it a 4.5 out of 5. I think it's really excellent.
Going right in. You know, when I first watched it, I would have given it a much lower rating, but I think after watching it a second time and talking about it, I'm going to give it a 3.5.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 4. I really enjoyed it. It was very impactful. Also, let's keep in mind I watched it starting at 6:30 in the morning. So
right.
The movie
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great, but the movie had a lot to overcome, and it did a great job in doing that. So
yeah, I'll
give it a strong 4. I really enjoyed it.
I'm glad. I'm glad that you guys gave it a good earnest viewing.
Well, and like I said, you know, I was really happily surprised in the content and the context. It was thought provoking. It was and again, just great story, great idea, important, thought provoking, and then on top of that, just the artistry of it across the board. I thought was fantastic. You know, filming, acting,
I would definitely appreciate it more. Yeah.
Writing, directing, all of it I thought was great. So yeah,
it's definitely not something you can watch kind of half asleep, laying in bed. You know, you definitely get more out of it from sitting up and actually paying attention to it.
And that
so you get all those nuances.
Is exactly why for our next round of movies we are doing comedies.
Great. Woo.
It's such a broad
it's such umbrella.
A broad.
What do you guys want from me? Okay, you said pick a theme, and I was sitting around being like, "Well,
we're very specific. We did Stephen King based movies and female directors.
Josh, you were definitely the most specific. And then female director, that's like anybody. I mean, like look at the 3 movies we made; they're all so completely different from each other.
Right, but comedies though, we love it. I can't wait to.
But I think it'll be very telling though for each of us to see. Like, this is what I find funny.
That's exactly why I wanted to do broad. That's exactly why I left it broad, because every time we do it broadly, we come up with 3 totally different things. I mean, look at our Stephen King. Between the 3 of us, we came up with Shawshank, The Shining, and The Dark Tower.
And trash.
Yeah, just throwing a wild card in there, you know?
Right.
Nobody wants a wild card in their group.
Everybody needs a wild card.
Wow.
No, I don't think he gets us, man.
He doesn't even get us. It's like he just doesn't understand
about
us, you know?
All right, Josh, hit us.
So comedy. I have, because you said favorite comedy, right?
Yes.
And so I'll just say, because I'm not going to request this, but my first initial gut reaction was The Hangover, because
I'm glad you're not doing that.
Why?
when that came out,
The Hangover's
I
awesome.
watched it. Right, but like I saw it, 6 times. I thought the humor was great, but what I will seriously request is, and also because you can't stream Hangover anywhere right now, so this one it's on HBO. But Bridesmaids,
Done.
Oh,
Done.
so another female. That's good.
Kristen Wiig,
absolutely.
our
Very-
SNL loves.
Fantastic.
Very interesting. Okay, I haven't seen that since it came out. Wait, have we all seen it though?
Yeah. But that's going to happen.
I feel like
that's
when you go
gonna
to
happen
like
with
favorite,
comedies. Yeah. That's going to happen with comedies, and I don't think it's a problem. Because not only
because
that,
I also don't. I wouldn't know. Sorry, Brandon. I wouldn't know what to pick then, because I don't know if like watching something that I haven't seen before.
right.
If I love it, it's probably going to be like a popular kind of some other.
No, that makes sense.
Well, also with
So-
comedies, it's different, right? So it's like a lot of these movies are going to be movies you've probably seen 40 times, let alone once.
Right. But what's going to be interesting is like revisiting it kind of through the lens of kind of what we've been doing, right? So that's another thing why I wasn't too hung up on whether or not everybody's seen it before, is because we're seeing it through a different lens, or we're going to be talking about it differently in terms of
Well, and there's two things. I mean, we're talking
amazing.
about comedies, and anything that goes back a few years, comedy gets interesting in our current political and social
It'll be
climate.
very interesting to see how dated it feels, or doesn't feel. Maybe it won't. But
I don't think Bridesmaids will feel dated at all. I think that'll still be like right.
Well, I'm interested. I don't really. I remember 2 scenes off the top of my head from that movie.
Great. I can't wait for you to revisit it.
So
it's great. It's a good one.
It's going to be fun. Cool. So awesome. Bridesmaids next time.
Dope.
I'm
Love
excited.
it. Love it.
Cool. Caleb, shall you sign us off?
Yeah, thanks for listening. That was White Material. Have a great, safe Independence Day weekend. And we'll join us next time for Maya Rudolph shitting in the street.
I can't wait. All right, guys. Take care.
Bye.